Welcome to our deep dive into human design.
Ooh, fun.
We're going to be talking all about the generator type today.
Awesome.
And we're lucky enough to have this this lecture transcript from Ra Uru Hu himself.
Yeah, the founder of human design, breaking down everything about generators.
Really going deep on their energy,
Their purpose in life,
how they make decisions, and even
how they influence the world around them.
it's fascinating.
It is.
So, Ra describes generators as the life force of the planet,
He does.
70% of the population.
70%. That's huge.
Dear listener, you might be one yourself.
Chances are you are.
And he says it all comes back to this thing called the Sacral Center.
Right.
Can you help me understand that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Sacral Center for a generator, you can think of it as this boundless wellspring of energy,
Oh, wow.
constantly responding to life.
Okay.
And it's not a mental response. It's not
Like thinking about things.
right. Thinking about it, weighing pros and cons, it's visceral.
It's sort of a gut feeling.
He's like, and pulls you towards things, pushes you away.
It's so interesting because that's so different from how most of us are taught to make decisions.
Right.
Like all that overthinking and
You
planning.
got to make a spreadsheet. You
Totally.
got to weigh the pros and cons.
Get advice from everybody.
Exactly. Society pushes us to initiate, to hustle, to make things happen.
Hustle.
But for a generator that goes against their very nature,
Oh, wow.
they're designed to respond, not to initiate.
Really?
And Ra says that when generators ignore those gut feelings,
What happened?
it leads to frustration, burnout, and this sense of not living up to your potential.
He actually goes on to say that the not-self generator leads to depression.
Oh, yeah.
That's a pretty strong statement.
It is a strong statement.
But what does he mean by that?
So think about it when a generator constantly pushes themselves to initiate,
Okay.
to go against their sacral response.
Yeah.
They're basically fighting their own nature.
Like swimming upstream.
Exactly. Swimming upstream against a strong current, you're going to exhaust yourself.
It makes you tired.
You get tired. So that's what happens when a generator lives in the not-self.
Yeah.
It's frustration, disappointment, and ultimately that deep sadness that Ra describes as generator depression.
Wow. Okay, so if a generator isn't supposed to initiate,
Right,
what are they here to do?
right. What is their purpose?
What's their purpose?
What are these 70% of the population here to do?
That's a lot of people.
A lot of people.
They must be here for something.
Well, Ra is very clear on this.
Okay, good.
Generators are here to work, to create, to build,
No.
but not as cogs in a machine.
Not like robots.
Right, not as slaves to the system.
Got it.
Their work needs to light them up.
Light them up.
It needs to get that response from their sacral.
Okay.
So it's about finding that right work that
Yeah.
lets them tap into that incredible energy source
Yeah.
and express themselves authentically.
That word respond, I love how he uses that.
Yeah.
Because it's not about just passively waiting for things to happen.
Exactly.
It's about actively engaging with life and recognizing the things that resonate with you
Absolutely.
and then moving towards those.
Yeah, I mean, in the lecture, he even gives an example about raising generator children.
Oh, really?
He says he advises against strict bedtimes for sacral children
Why is that?
because they inherently know when they're exhausted.
Oh, wow.
Their sacral tells them when to rest.
Interesting.
It's all about trusting that internal wisdom.
That's so different from how a lot of us were raised.
I know, right?
Like you go to sleep at 8?
You eat at this time, you do this at this time.
Yeah.
So it seems like human design is really about learning to trust ourselves again.
Unlearning all that conditioning.
Exactly.
Now, Rod goes on to talk about how each sacral gate influences a generator's experience.
Right.
There are a lot of them, right?
There are a lot of gates, and they all add this nuance to how a generator responds and
Yeah.
what kind of work lights them up.
Give me an example.
Okay, so for example, the 42nd gate is all about completion.
Completion.
So imagine you're engrossed in a project.
Okay.
Maybe you're renovating a house.
Yeah, I love good house project.
If you have the 42nd gate, you'll feel incredibly fulfilled watching that entire process unfold.
Okay.
From that first demolition swing
Yeah.
to that final coat of paint.
Oh, yeah.
That sense of complete
Something through.
from beginning to end
That's what drives a generator with this gate.
drives them. And if they ignore that
When
and they start a project they're not truly invested in,
Yeah.
they're going to end up feeling frustrated.
Even if they finish it.
Yeah, even if they push themselves to finish it.
So it's not just about finishing the task.
No.
It's about being invested in the entire process.
Exactly, the whole journey.
Wow. So are there other gates that are about like this finding the right work for a generator?
Yeah, definitely. So we have gates like the third, which
Yeah.
is about taking risks and embracing the unknown.
Okay.
So imagine you're presented with a job offer that seems exciting. Okay.
But also scary.
I've been there
Right.
so many times.
If you have the third gate,
Yeah.
you're going to feel that
Yeah.
urge to dive in, even if your mind is screaming with doubts.
Oh.
It's about trusting that leap of faith.
Trusting that pull of the unknown.
Exactly.
That's a beautiful image.
Yeah.
So we've got this core energy center, the sacral,
Right.
and all these different gates, adding these unique flavors to the generator's experience.
Some nuances.
But how does a generator wake up to this?
Right. How do they start to recognize those sacral responses?
How do they figure it out?
Well, Ride describes this simple but profound game
Okay.
that generators can play with a trusted friend or confidant.
Well, that's good.
And it's all about asking questions and tuning into those gut responses.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
So imagine you're the generator
Okay.
and your friend asks, "Do you enjoy your current job?"
Mm-hmm.
You simply close your eyes, take a breath, and pay attention to your body.
Okay.
Do you feel a subtle a sense of expansion or excitement? Okay.
Or is it an
Okay.
Maybe a tightness in your chest or a feeling of resistance?
So you're not thinking about the answer. You're feeling it.
Exactly. The mind is taken out of the equation.
No overthinking.
No second guessing.
Just pure gut response.
No unfiltered sacral response.
I love that.
Yeah.
Now, he really emphasizes the need for vulnerability in this, right?
He does.
It's about being open and honest with yourself and with your friend.
Absolutely. He also points out that there are different versions of this game for different types of generators.
Oh,
he
nice.
calls them the cool game and the hot game.
Okay, I'm hooked. Tell me more.
So the cool game is for generators with an undefined emotional center.
Okay.
It's a more straightforward process.
Got it.
And he actually suggests that they can do it in a single evening.
Wow.
They can get a pretty clear picture of who they are and what they desire in a relatively short amount of time.
It's like a crash course
Exactly.
in self-discovery.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
But for generators with a defined emotional center,
What happens?
things get a little more complex
Oh,
because their responses are influenced by their emotional wave,
okay.
which means their feelings ebb and flow.
So it's not as clear-cut.
Exactly.
Yep.
So the game needs to be played over a longer period of time, usually about a week.
Okay.
And he calls this the hot game.
The hot game.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because their answers might change over time, it's important to revisit the same questions.
I see.
And see if the answers have shifted.
So really getting to know all those nuances of your emotional landscape.
Absolutely.
So whether it's a cool game or a hot game,
Yeah.
it's about the generator connecting with their sacral truth
Exactly.
and making decisions from that place of knowing.
Yeah. That deep inner knowing.
And when they do that, Ross says that it impacts the world around them.
Oh, yeah.
He talks about this ripple effect
I love that.
where their energy shifts and it affects their relationships, their work, their overall energy field.
Right. Because when you're living in alignment with your true self, it changes the energy that you're putting out into the world.
So powerful.
It is.
Now, speaking of relationships,
Yes.
Ray goes really deep into how certain gates
Oh, yeah.
can influence a generator's experience in this area,
It can be complicated.
particularly the 29th and the 59th gates.
Yeah. So these gates govern different aspects of relationships. For instance, the 29th gate is all about commitment
Commitment.
and diving deep into the unknown with another person.
Okay.
So imagine you're considering a new relationship.
Mm-hmm.
If you have the 29th gate, your sacral will respond to the potential for a journey for uncovering hidden depths together.
Oh.
It's less about seeking perfection and more about embracing the adventure of exploring uncharted territory with a partner.
He uses this great phrase to describe it. He says it's more about the geometry than the idea of the relationship.
I love that.
It's about the energy,
Yes.
that unique dynamic between two people.
Yeah, they can't be fully understood or predicted beforehand.
It's about trusting.
Trusting that dance of energies.
Trusting your sacral response.
Yeah.
Trusting your partner. Trusting the journey.
Exactly.
That's a lot of trust.
And through that, trust, a generator with the 29th gate
Yeah.
can discover incredible depths, not just about the relationship, but about themselves.
Ah,
Now, the 59th gate is a bit different.
okay.
This one is all about intimacy
Intimacy.
and forming those deep, soulful bonds that generators crave.
So finding the right relationship for a generator with the 59th gate is paramount.
Absolutely.
Because if it's not the right fit,
Ooh.
there can be a lot of heartache.
Yeah, it's heartache and frustration because these generators are wired for that deep connection.
Yeah.
That feeling of being truly seen and understood on a soul level.
They're not content with superficial relationships.
Oh, they need to go deep.
So trusting their sacral response when choosing a partner is crucial.
Absolutely.
And it's not just about romantic relationships.
Yeah.
It's about any kind of intimate connection.
Friends, family members.
Colleagues.
Exactly. Finding those people who truly get them.
Find your tribe.
Find your tribe.
Now, along with relationships, Ra also talks about work.
Oh yeah, work is important.
And specifically, he talks about generators with the 14th and 34th gates.
So these gates offer some really interesting insights into the generator's relationship with work.
Okay.
So the 14th gate, often called the gate of power skills, is all about creating abundance.
Abundant.
And it's not just material wealth,
What else?
it's a richness of experience.
Okay.
So imagine you're a generator with this gate,
Yeah.
and you're working on a project you love.
Yeah.
You'll pour your heart and soul into it.
I've been there.
And that dedication will attract all sorts of wonderful things.
Like what?
Resources, opportunities,
Yeah.
and a deep sense of accomplishment.
Wow.
So you become a magnet for abundance.
But what happens when a generator with the 14th gate is not aligned with their work?
Ray points out that they can fall into this pattern of feeling like they're constantly working hard and getting nowhere.
Ugh, I've been there.
Right.
That's the worst.
They might jump from job to job, always searching for that elusive sense of fulfillment.
So it comes back to trusting your sacral response and finding work that you truly resonate with.
Exactly.
Now, what about the 34th gate?
So the 34th gate, which is called the power of the busy,
Right.
is all about action, about getting things done.
I love that.
So imagine having a to-do list a mile long
That's my life.
and feeling energized
Yes.
by the prospect of tackling it.
Okay.
That's the 34th gate in action.
Now, he also mentions, though, that these generators need guidance.
They do. They need some direction.
Otherwise, they can end up scattering their energy in a million different directions.
Right. It's like trying to water a garden with a fire hose.
That's a good analogy.
You need a nozzle to direct that flow and make sure it's actually nourishing the plants.
Right.
So for generators with the 34th gate, finding that direction, that focus for their energy is key to feeling fulfilled in their work.
And that's where human design can be so helpful.
Absolutely.
It gives you those tools
It does.
to recognize your strengths,
Yeah.
your natural rhythm.
And how to channel your energy effectively.
It all comes back to trusting that sacral response.
It does.
This has been so insightful.
It has.
So as we wrap up part 1 of our deep dive into the generator,
Yes.
what's standing out to you so far about the power of the generator?
Well, I think what's really sticking with me is how Rat emphasizes this role of the generator as a pattern maker for the entire planet.
Wow.
It's a huge responsibility, but it's also incredibly empowering to think about.
So they're the architects
Yeah.
of our collective reality.
Yeah. And their energy, whether they're aware of it or not, is shaping the world around us.
That's incredible.
It is. But he also makes it clear that when generators aren't living in alignment with their design,
Oh,
they can actually contribute to some of the negative patterns we see in the world,
like what?
like frustration and dissatisfaction.
Makes sense.
So when a generator is living in their not self, constantly pushing themselves to initiate and ignoring their sacral response, that energy ripples outwards and it impacts everyone around them.
But when they embrace their true nature and live in alignment with their sacral authority, they radiate a completely different frequency.
They do.
A frequency that uplifts and inspires.
It's like they become beacons of authenticity,
Yes,
showing others that it's okay to trust your gut.
exactly.
Now, Ra also dives into some really specific strategies for generators.
Yeah.
Particularly those with the 5th and the 9th gates.
So these gates are fascinating because they offer insights into how generators can create and maintain healthy patterns in their lives.
Okay.
So the 5th gate, known as fixed rhythms, is all about timing.
Timing.
It's about trusting that the right opportunities will come along when the time is right,
Oh.
rather than trying to force things or manipulate outcomes.
So it's like they have this internal clock
They do.
that tells them when to act and when to wait.
Exactly. And when they honor that rhythm, they avoid a lot of the frustration and disappointment that comes from trying to make things happen on their own timetable.
It's like surrendering to the flow.
He gives an example in the lecture. He talks about how a generator with the 5th gate might be presented with a job opportunity. Okay.
That seems perfect on paper,
Yeah.
but if their sacral isn't giving them that,
Uh-huh.
it's a sign that the timing isn't right.
Wow. So you might think it's the perfect opportunity,
You might.
but your body's telling you no.
Your sacral is saying not yet.
Not yet.
Something better is coming.
That's incredible.
It is.
So it's about trusting the unfolding of life and not getting caught up in the need to control everything.
Exactly.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Now, what about the ninth gate?
So the ninth gate, which is called the taming power of the small,
Okay.
is all about focus and attention to detail.
I like that.
He describes it as taking a journey of 1,000 miles one step at a time.
Rome wasn't built in a day.
Exactly.
That's what I think of.
Right.
It's about understanding that true mastery comes from patience and persistence.
Yes. But for generators with the ninth gate who are operating from their not self, that focus can be a real challenge. They might get easily distracted
Oh, yeah.
and jump from project to project without really completing anything.
Starting new things, but never finishing them.
Exactly. And that can lead to a sense of overwhelm
Locally.
and a lack of accomplishment.
But when they tap into the power of the ninth gate and learn to channel their energy into one step at a time,
Oh, then they can achieve incredible things.
it's like the artist meticulously crafting a masterpiece.
Exactly.
Or the programmer writing code line by line.
It's that focused effort that allows them to bring their vision to life.
So fascinating. It's like those two gates,
Yeah,
waiting and focus, work together for generators.
they do. It's a dance.
It's a dance.
between patience and action.
I like that.
Mm.
So now one of the challenges that Ra highlights is that generators live in a world that's largely designed for manifestors,
Right.
who are all about initiating and taking action.
Go, go, go.
Right.
Get it done.
And this creates a real dilemma for generators.
Yeah, because generators are designed to respond,
Not initiate.
not initiate. So it's like they're constantly being told to just do it,
Just do it.
when their whole design is about waiting for the right moment to act.
So they're getting mixed messages.
They are. It can lead to a lot of inner conflict and
Yeah.
a sense of not belonging.
Like they're doing something wrong.
Exactly. It's like society is gaslighting them
Telling them that their natural way of being is wrong or lazy.
when it's actually their superpower.
And this is where understanding human design can be so transformative for generators.
Absolutely.
It gives them permission to embrace their unique energy
Yes.
and to honor their natural rhythms.
Exactly.
And to say no to the pressure to conform.
Yeah.
And to create a life that really aligns with their sacral authority.
Yeah. You get to make your own rules
You do.
based on your design.
Ra talks about how generators need to surround themselves with people who understand and appreciate their design,
It's so important.
who will honor their need to respond rather than constantly pushing them to initiate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be surrounded by people who are constantly like, why aren't you doing anything? Why are you just sitting there? Like,
Yeah.
when your design is to wait for that thing to come to you.
Yeah.
So find your people.
Find your people.
Go get it.
He also cautions generators to be mindful of who they take advice from,
Yeah.
which makes sense.
Yeah.
You wouldn't ask a fish for advice on how to climb a tree.
Exactly. The advice might come from a good place.
Yeah.
But if it's not coming from someone who understands human design,
Yeah.
it could lead a generator down the wrong path.
So ultimately, the best guidance comes from within,
It does.
from your own sacral response,
From your gut.
and from people who
Wow.
understand and honor that response.
Absolutely.
Find your people.
Find your people.
Now, Ray also talks about how generators can strengthen their connection to their sacral authority.
Yes,
And this is so simple,
it is.
but I love it.
I love it too.
By simply saying uh-huh and out loud.
Uh-huh.
So you're just going through your day and you're like, uh-huh, I want that.
I don't want that.
It's like a little exercise
It is.
to help you tune in to your inner compass.
Yeah, bring that sacral response into your conscious awareness.
Yeah.
Start to trust it as your guide.
He also encourages generators to pay attention to their physical sensations,
Right.
because the sacral response isn't just mental,
It's a full body
full
experience.
body experience.
You might feel a surge of energy, a sense of expansion,
Yeah.
or even a feeling of resistance in your gut.
So you're learning to recognize those subtle cues and trust them.
Trust those cues.
It's like developing a whole new language
It is.
for communicating with yourself.
Absolutely.
Now, along with trusting their sacral response, Ray also talks about the importance of rest and rejuvenation for generators,
Yes. Rest is so important.
especially those with the 27th gate.
So this gate is all about caring for others.
It's a beautiful gate.
It is a beautiful gate. But Ra emphasizes that generators with the 27th gate need to learn to prioritize their own needs as well.
Oh.
They can easily get caught up in taking care of everyone else and neglect their own well-being.
It's true.
Because they're natural givers.
Yeah.
And they want to help.
I know so many 27s.
I know so many 27s, and they're always giving.
Giving.
But if they're not careful, they can end up feeling exhausted and resentful.
So he talks about setting boundaries and making sure they're getting enough rest and rejuvenation.
Absolutely. Fill up your own cup first.
You can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly. And for generators with the 27th gate, it's especially important to find activities that nourish their soul.
Oh, yeah.
And bring them a sense of peace and tranquility.
That makes sense.
So whether it's spending time in nature, listening to music, engaging in creative pursuits, it's about finding those things that fill them up and allow them to show up in the world as their best selves. Ra also mentions diet and exercise for generators. Well, yeah, because their physical well-being is directly tied to their energy levels.
Of course.
So he encourages generators to experiment with different foods and activities to see what makes them feel most energized and vibrant.
It's different for everybody.
It is.
You got to figure out what works for you.
Exactly. And recognizing that what works for one generator might not work for another.
It's about paying attention to how your body responds.
Right. It's like finding your own unique recipe for optimal well-being.
I like that.
Yeah.
He also talks about sleep.
Sleep is so important.
Yeah, he actually advises against setting strict bedtimes for children with sacral energy.
He does. He says that they should be allowed to sleep until they naturally wake up.
Because their bodies know what they need.
Their bodies know. Their sacral will tell them when they've had enough rest.
It's trusting that internal wisdom again.
It is. And creating a sleep environment that supports restful sleep.
I like that.
Yeah.
Now, shifting gears a bit.
Okay, let's shift gears.
He also goes into sacral sounds.
Oh, yeah.
And how they relate to the different gates.
Sacral sounds are fun.
I've heard about them before, but I've never really understood what they mean.
So Ra explains that each sacral gate has its own unique sound. Oh. And that these sounds can be a powerful way for generators to connect with their energy and understand how they're designed to respond.
So it's like each gate has its own vibrational frequency.
Exactly. And by tuning into these sounds, generators can gain a deeper understanding of their own unique way of being in the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Give me an example.
Okay, so for example, he describes the sound of the 59th gate, which is all about intimacy as a deep, resonant It's like a humming vibration that emanates from their core.
Okay.
And then he contrasts that with the sound of the 27th gate.
Which is about?
Caring, which he describes as this nurturing sound, like a mother soothing her child.
It's like a lullaby.
Yeah, it's a sound that conveys warmth and compassion.
Oh, that's so sweet.
It is.
It's amazing how these sounds can reflect the energy of the different gates.
And he emphasizes that these sounds aren't just random noises.
Yeah.
They're actually reflections of the energy that's moving through the Sacral Center.
So it's like an outward expression of what's happening on the inside.
Exactly. And he even talks about the 34th gate.
Okay.
Which is all about power and strength as being mute.
Mute.
It doesn't have a specific sound associated with it.
So it's silent.
It's silent.
Interesting.
It is.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think it suggests that this gate operates on a different level.
Yeah.
It's not about expressing itself through sound. It's about channeling its energy into action.
It's like this silent force.
It is.
That's constantly at work behind the scenes.
Exactly.
So for generators with the 34th gate, it's important to find healthy outlets for all that power.
Yeah, because otherwise it can manifest as frustration or aggression.
So whether it's through physical activity or creative pursuits, or just focusing on their work.
It's about finding ways to channel that energy constructively.
Yeah.
And recognizing that their power is a gift, not something to be feared or suppressed.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Thank you.
So as we wrap up part 2 of this deep dive,
yes,
I'm curious, what's been the biggest aha moment for you so far?
Honestly, for me, it's the sheer potential generators hold to transform the world.
Yeah.
Ray describes them as the life force of the planet, and when they tap into their sacral power and live authentically, the ripple effects are undeniable.
So we've got this vision of a world where generators embrace their energy.
Yes.
Trust their guts, say yes to the things that light them up.
That sounds like a beautiful world.
It does. But it also brings up this question.
Okay.
How do we bridge the gap between that ideal and the reality of living in a world that's often at odds with the generator's natural way of being?
It's a great question.
It is a big question.
I think that's where the power of awareness comes in.
So simply understanding human design.
Understanding that you're a generator.
Recognizing it.
And what that means.
Is a huge step.
It is a huge step. It's like giving yourself permission to operate differently from the societal norms that tell you to constantly hustle and initiate.
It's saying no to the things that drain you.
Yes.
And yes, to the things that light you up.
And it starts with that simple but profound practice that Ross suggests,
Which is,
tuning into your sacral response and saying uh-huh or out loud.
it's so simple.
It is simple, but it's like a muscle you're strengthening.
That connection to your inner authority.
Trusting your gut, even when your mind's like, no, no, no.
Yeah, exactly.
That's hard.
It can.
But that trust, that deep inner knowing, is what allows generators to navigate life.
Yeah, it allows them to let go of that need
Yeah.
to control and allow life to come to them.
Responding to opportunities.
Instead of constantly chasing after them.
It's like a different way of being in the world.
It is.
More receptive, more in tune with the natural flow.
Yeah, and when generators embrace this way of being, Ross says they become incredibly magnetic.
Magnetic.
Yeah, what does that mean?
It's like their energy shifts.
Okay.
And they start attracting the right people, the right opportunities, the right experiences.
So it's not about forcing things.
No.
It's about aligning yourself
With your sacral authority.
and letting life unfold in a way that feels good.
Yeah, that feels authentic.
And that alignment, that trust, is what allows generators to fulfill their purpose.
It does.
To work, to create,
To build a world
to build a world.
that reflects their unique gifts and talents.
It's about recognizing that they're not here to fit in. They're
No.
here to stand out.
To shine their light.
So for our listeners out there who are generators, what advice would you give them based on Rai's teachings?
Embrace your power.
Embrace your power.
The world needs your energy, your
Yeah.
creativity, your unique way of being.
It does.
Trust your gut, honor your sacral response, and say yes to the things that light you up.
Yes.
You have an incredible gift to offer the world. Don't be afraid to share it.
This deep dive has been truly eye-opening, and I hope it sparked a sense of wonder in you, our listener,
Yeah,
about the power and potential you hold within.
absolutely.
Whether you're a generator or simply curious about human design,
Yeah,
Ra's teachings offer a profound invitation
they do.
to understand ourselves more deeply
To connect with our inner authority,
and to create a life that is truly aligned.
with our unique design.
Keep exploring, keep responding.
Keep responding.
And as Ra would say, watch the magic unfold.
Watch the magic unfold. Tuning into your sacral response and saying uh-huh or out loud.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's like bringing that sacral response into your conscious awareness
Being aware of it
and starting to trust it
as your guide.
as your guide.
Even when your mind's telling you something different.
Yeah, even when your mind is screaming with doubts.
And he encourages generators to really pay attention to those physical sensations too.
Because the sacral response isn't just mental, it's a full body experience.
Full body experience.
You might feel a surge of energy,
Yeah.
a sense of expansion, or even a feeling of resistance in your gut.
It's like learning to trust those subtle cues.
Just those cues.
It's like developing a whole new language for communicating with yourself.
It is. It's fascinating.
It's fascinating.
Now, he also talks about how when generators embrace this way of being,
Yeah.
they become incredibly magnetic.
Magnetic. That's a powerful word.
It is a powerful word.
What does he mean by that?
It's like their energy shifts and they start attracting the right people, the right opportunities, the right experiences.
It's not about forcing things.
No,
Yeah.
it's not about manipulating or controlling.
It's about aligning yourself with your sacral authority
and letting life unfold
in a way that feels good.
in a way that feels authentic and aligned.
And that alignment, that trust in themselves, is what allows generators to fulfill their purpose.
To work, to create, to build a world that reflects their unique gifts and talents.
It's about recognizing that you're not here to fit in.
No.
You're not here to play small.
You're here to stand out, to shine your light, and to inspire others to do the same. So for our listeners out there who are generators, what advice would you give them based on Ra's teachings?
What would you say to them?
I would say embrace your power.
Embrace your power.
The world needs your energy, your creativity, your unique way of being. Trust your gut, honor your sacral response, and say yes to the things that light you up. You have an incredible gift to offer the world. Don't be afraid to share it.
That's beautiful. Well, this deep dive has been truly eye-opening.
It has.
And I hope it's sparked a sense of wonder in you, our listener, about the power and potential you hold within. Whether you're a generator or simply curious about human design, Ra's teachings offer a profound invitation to understand ourselves more deeply, to connect with our inner authority, and to create a life that is truly aligned with our unique design. Keep exploring, keep responding, and as Ra would say, watch the magic unfold.
Watch the magic unfold.